If you're new to Azure, you might be confused about terms like tenant, management group, subscription, resource group, and resources. Where do they fit? Which one should you create first? And how are they connected? In this video, I'll explain the complete Azure hierarchy in a simple way using a diagram and a live Azure Portal demo. By the end of this video, you'll clearly understand how Azure is organized. Right, so when we start with the big picture, Azure follows a hierarchy structure and it flows from top to bottom. So the first being the tenant, then the management group, then the subscription, resource group, and then resources. These all have their own functionality. How do they work in Azure ecosystem? And we'll cover it one by one. So you can think this all as a company structure, right? Tenant being your company, management groups are divisions, and then we have subscription which can be related to as a department. Then we have a resource group as a project folders, and resources are the actual tool which you'll use. Now let's understand each one in depth. So at the top we have tenant. A tenant is your organization's identity environment. So basically whenever you first sign up to Azure, you get a tenant contains your users group, your permission, your application, and Azure uses Microsoft EntraID, which previously was known as Azure Active Directory, to manage your all identities inside the tenant. Azure Microsoft EntraID is actually where you store your users groups and applications. Basically every subscription and any resource you create belongs to a tenant. So to understand, let's go above and we have a diagram here which basically states that we have a tenant, and in a tenant we have all these other tools. We have got Azure Active Directory, previously was known as Azure EntraID, that is linked to Microsoft Azure, and in Azure we have subscription and resource group and all other components. So when I go back to Azure, let's search a tenant here. So for that I'll search for EntraID. And in the Entra ID, when we go to overview, you can see my tenant ID as well and the name as well, right? We can have our own tenant name also. We can change from default directory to cloud with Arya, and you can see our email, our license, which we are utilizing, and how many users are there, the groups, our application and devices. So this is my tenant and manages identity and access, basically who is going to sign up, use the applications, right? So when we go back to this, we have management group. So management groups help you to organize multiple subscriptions. So we can have multiple management groups, and a management group can contain other management group as well, right? So in any company, there's always going to be a root management group, which is a default. It cannot be removed. And in a root management group, later you can create multiple management group as well. And a management group can contain other management group also. So a project A management group can contain another management group here with the project C. These are mainly used for governance, policies, access control across subscription. So now what I said is how it's going to help with governance, policies, and access control is basically that suppose I've applied my policies like users cannot create virtual machines in a central India location. So when I apply this policy to this root management group, all other management group, subscription, and resources will automatically inherit. Basically, all the policies will cascade to all the child resources of the root management group. So any permissions like user can access virtual machine, can make any changes to the virtual machine if applied to the root management group, will automatically cascade to all the subscription and resources within it. And similarly, if we apply the policies to the project A, all the permissions and policies will only be flowing to the production and development environment, project A, not the project B. So again, if I apply permissions to the production, it will only cascade to these resource groups and not to the other, right? So this can be used as a logic. How do you want to segregate the access and the policies going to govern your resources in Azure? And now to search that in the portal, we can search for management group, right? And in the management group, we always are going to have a root management group. So this is our tenant root group. And under here, I can create multiple management group. This tenant root group has these four subscriptions within. Similarly, in this case, like the root management group has four subscription directly attached. I can create other as well. Like in this case, we have project A. Let's create a management group with the name project A. Project A, right? So after it's created, I'll attach to subscription to this management group instead of what is right now is it directly attached to the root. As we understand, the permissions and the policies are automatically cascade to the child resources. So in this case, the child is subscriptions and the resource group and the resources. So all the permissions, whatever apply to the tenant will automatically be inherent to these resources. Now let's refresh and see if our management group is created. Updating group succeeded. Let's go back and come back again. Right. So you can see we have got a management group, project A, and now we can place subscription or create new ones inside it. And other thing you can notice is that it is under tenant root group. So all the management group and all the resources goes under default to tenant root group. Like in this case also you can see the hierarchy is the root management group being in the middle after Azure Tenant and all other resources being part of it. Similarly, it's part of the root management group, our new management group project A. Now in here we can add multiple subscription or move our existing subscription to this one. So suppose I want to change the cloud demo and the DR to the project A. So you can see I'm getting the option of to move the cloud demos. I'll save and my subscription will now move from the root management group to the project A. Now let's go back and do the refresh. So you can see my subscription from the root management group has gone to project A. So this is how we can move a subscription across the management group level also. Usually why people will do this if they want to organize the resources and the project into a separate container so that the roles, permissions, the policies and the governance can be applied at the project A level also. All the subscription within A will automatically inherit and we don't have to apply the permissions at the resource group or the subscription level. So this is how you can organize your resources cleanly and better efficiently manage them, right? So next we have is subscription, and subscription plays a very important role in the sense that it is a billing boundary. So how many resources you create, virtual machine, storage account, databases, all the billing will get applied to the subscription level. So you can think of it as a billing boundary of your resources. All Azure costs are calculated at the subscription level, and a subscription is attached to Azure tenant. A subscription cannot be without a tenant. Organizations can often create separate subscription for production or testing environment or different teams, right? And in the portal to go to subscription, we can search for directly for subscriptions and you can see all the subscription which you have in your tenant, right? So in my case I have 4 subscription and you can see the parent management group where it's attached to also and the cost and your role IDs and all of that information. Now let's go back and next we have is a resource group. So inside a subscription we create a resource group, and resource group is just a logical container for resources. It helps you to organize related services, manage the life cycle of the resources together. So for example, if you have a web application, right, you can keep your virtual machines, storage and databases which works together inside of one resource group, and if you delete the resource group, all resources inside it will also be deleted and all the permissions and the governance you can assign at the resource group, so it automatically inherit to the resources inside the group also. For resource group you can search for resource group, right? And you can see I've created my resource group for MySQL, and this was specifically for my demo for MySQL flexible server. And in this way, if an application has multiple resources, you can create one resource group and put all your resources in that particular resource group, and you can directly assign the policies. Like in this case, I can assign the policies if I do not want to create my resources in a specific region or automatically inherit tags to all the resources which I'll create. I can do it via policies, and similarly for permissions. And finally, we have resources. Resources are the actual Azure services such as virtual machines, storage accounts, app services, databases, virtual networks, and so on. These are the services you use to build your application. Suppose if I want to create storage account where I store my data, I'll search for storage account and then click on create. So whenever we create a resource, we choose the subscription because the billing gets applied at the subscription level and the resource group to organize our resources. Now in this case, let's say I have an application which backs up to the storage account. I'll name it as backup data, right? Storage account name needs to be unique, so I'll give it a name as cloudwithaarya, and the region we can keep the same. Next, I'll keep it as low redundant storage. Next, I'll keep everything as same and review and create. So while it's getting created, I'll show you the hierarchy which this particular resource is going to follow with the subscription and the resource group which we gave. For that, I'll go to subscription, and the subscription I used was the cloud demos. And cloud subscription encapsulate resource group and resources. So you can see 2 fields here, right? In the diagram, we can see the subscription has resource group and the resources. So now let's go to resource group. We created a new one, and that is created, right? RG backup data. and this resource group is under cloud demo, and this will have storage account. Let's refresh to see if it has come. So you can see the storage account is created, and we have a subscription, the resource group, and the resource. And one thing I was telling about the permissions. So if the permission has applied to ARYA user at the subscription, right, this resource being the cloud demos as a owner, and whatever permissions at the subscription level will be automatically cascaded to the resources as well. So if we go to the cloud with ARYA backup and search for IAM, you'll see the permission is automatically applied here also, right? We can see the ARYA has the permission as a owner for this resource, and the scope is a subscription, so the permission is getting applied from the subscription level, and you can see it as inherited, right? And similarly for policies also, this particular criteria will work. So this was about resources. And the key takeaways from this will be the policies and the permissions flow from top to bottom. So whatever you applied at the root project, the production will automatically inherit. Root management group being at the top, the policies and the permissions will go to the project A and B also. If it would have been the permission and policies attached to the project A, the flow will be from the project A to the production and development, these both environments. And this is the rest of how the permissions and the policies flow. And it is very important to understand at the beginner's point of view, how do we need to manage the permissions and the policies, and where do we need to apply it. That is the scope, right? So now let's quickly recap what we have seen. So we have a tenant, which is identity boundary. We have as a management group, which is to organize your subscriptions. We have a subscription, which is billings and quota limits, and the quota being Azure has set up some quotas for all their services. So for example, you can only deploy B2S series up to 10 vCPUs, so that if our quotas has been used completely, we can expand it with the customer care. And to see that, we will need to go to our subscription. Then you'll see an option here with the usage and quotas, right? So this is how you can check your quotas available on your subscription. And to increase it, we can use to new quota request and request from Microsoft, right? Then we have is a resource group. Resource group is the logical container of your resources, and then we finally we have resources, which is your actual services like virtual machine, storage account, etc. Understanding this hierarchy is very important for Azure Beginners and for certifications like AZ900, which test you on the very basic and fundamentals level. And if this video has helped you understand Azure hierarchy, don't forget to like and subscribe Cloud with Arya for more Azure tutorials. Thanks for watching.